What's going on, everybody? How you doing? This is Lord PeteyTV as we're going into Heart of Tuzari, which is the capstone dungeon for Adept. So you see me dousing the flame so the DPS can start the process here of DPSing these three mobs. Once we get into a better spot, we end up DPSing them down, and we end up running around the corner, and we end up going down to the bottom here, and we end up continuing to grab that group. Now, the thing that is very dangerous with this first pull, it's actually way easier than you think. So you just have to kind of keep an eye on it. You also, as you can see here, they use the defensive and they pulled that middle group. Now, the middle group kind of is a little bit of a bitey situation when it comes to the tank, but you just keep an eye on it and you continue to, DPS and heal through it. Not really that big a deal. We're continuing to interrupt as much as we possibly can because in this dungeon, interrupting is pretty much the king of everything. I douse the flame. We end up moving to the next group. Now, a lot of people will triple pull that group, and this group together, but it is vastly harder to deal with. We actually begin to rotate our defensive trinkets for everybody during this whole entire time because this part is very, very difficult to deal with. So we want to make sure we end up getting through it. So we end up using the defensive. We got through the first part, and we're going to continue to the second one. Now, we end up DPSing that group. We douse the flame. We move to the next group, and we're going to go over here into the center, and we're going to deal with the first boss. Now, the first boss is not too bad. You just have to keep an eye on the DPS that is occurring on the boss. So the siphon blood does start to charge him with damage, so you want to end up moving him pretty much a little bit out of the way. The other thing is the pyres that are going to start that flame in the center. And you're going to see those really, really dark balls that are going to be flying around. If you touch those balls, you are going to take damage and you're going to get a debuff the more you touch. The flame from that like half circle, once you end up getting hit with that, that's what you're going to end up doing. That's what you're going to end up getting rid of those debuffs a little bit easier. Now, that siphon blood is also what causes the balls to come from, so you have an idea of where they're coming from. There's the pyre. You want to get out of that way. You want to continue through. There's a hemorrhage strike that he ends up causing on the tank, which does a large amount of damage. You want to be careful of that. And you want to just kind of move around the room. Now, I personally feel that this is a very heal-intensive fight, so you really, really want to keep an eye on it. Now, for myself playing Sylvie, it's really, really kind of difficult to make sure they're always putting butterflies on everybody at the whole entire time. And on top of that, I want to try to make sure that everyone is taken care of and healed through accordingly. Now, the other thing I will say for the healers, when you are trying to heal through this, make sure you're rotating your defensive cooldowns properly to be able to get through it, because it is not that easy. So we end up getting through that, and then we're going to follow up up the stairs here. We're going to pull this first group, these little group here, and we're going to pull them all together. We did have a guy shooting us from the doorway. Nobody was interrupting him. I tried to tell them to interrupt, but that didn't happen. You really, really need to keep an eye on dispels during this part if you are a healer. Dispels are very, very important once you get to this portion of the dungeon. They will almost kill your DPS. As you can see there, Reggie almost died because he had 2 stacks on it. So it's very hard. You have to keep an eye on it, and you got to keep moving. So now you don't want to touch any of those reds on the floor. If you do, see, you'll get those little vines that pop up, and then you end up kind of moving around there. You got to get into this corner here because you need to end up hitting that next pyre there. I tried to make sure that I'm healing as much as I can for these groups. It's very, very difficult for me to try to make sure we have enough of the butterflies on everybody at all times. As you can see there, I'm trying to make sure I keep heals on the tank because he doesn't have that many defensives up there, as you can see. So we're kind of just trying to go through, douse the flame, we go to the next portion here. Try not to bring any more additional ads. So I did a good job because I didn't do any that time. And then we end up jumping down. We pull the group here. And the patrolling one, making sure we're watching the interrupts and continuing to interrupt as much as we can. Make sure you hit that V button if you're looking to get an interrupt. We're going to end up taking that person out there. Then we're going to go upstairs. There's an executioner there. We don't need that one, so we try to leave them be. So you grab that group, and we try to position ourselves in a way where we're not going to get the frontal from the executioner, but I will because I'm stupid and I was in the way. and then you end up interrupting and trying to make sure that we're DPSing continuously through the group. So we're ending up doing that, and we're going to run down the stairs, having the executioner just kind of following through, which is really not difficult to kind of deal with. Once that executioner is dealt with, everything turns to be a little bit quicker. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to move. So we're going to grab this group here at the bottom of the stairs, because you cannot avoid them. You cannot sneak past them unless you are using Invis or something along those lines. So we end up taking those guys out there, and then we go through here into this weird area where we're going to navigate around a lot of the mobs. We're going to grab this first pull here. There's only one mob really in there that's difficult. The initiates die pretty quickly, and that is the Profane Invoker. Some people think just play on the ball, some of them don't. Now, the main thing I want to say is, on this portion, we ended up splitting the room into 4. Once you split the room into 4, everyone has their designated areas. That way they know what to grab. So you grab as many of those things on the floor, and if you don't, you end up getting ads that spawn up. So you want to make sure you do that, or flowers, I should say. So now we end up having to deal with this large amount of damage being thrown around, and you're going to end up now getting the toxic spores coming out, or I should say the twisted roots. So that's another 2 ads you're going to have to deal with. Now, this is a very heal crazy fight. You want to make sure you're keeping an eye on what you're doing. You want to make sure you're interrupting as much as you possibly can, because that is very, very troublesome for us as healers. The tank has a really large damage ability that goes off on them, so they really need to keep an eye on that. You really want to keep an eye on the kiting. And like I said, you really want to make sure this is taken care of properly. If you don't, you will definitely have issues. So make sure you're taking care of your area. And then, we only got a couple of mobs there. So I'm continuing to heal as much as I can, dropping everything on big rotations, using the wither bark, or I should say iron bark, or whatever you want to call it, onto the tank for defensive. And we're going to end up just DPSing down the rest of the ads here and the boss. Now, we do have both of the roots that are out, but because we've almost got the boss down, it doesn't make sense to DPS the roots down, so we just aim for the boss, and I pretty much heal right through all the damage that's happening on everything else. So now we're going to go into the last portion. We're going to go in here. We're going to take care of that. We're going to DPS this group here. And we're going to go right around the corner. And we only pulled the one group. This hulking Moar Gore really does a lot of damage, so you really need to keep an eye on him. We're going to now run. This is a very particular way we're going to end up doing this run. We're going to pull this group here so I can get this camp. That way, if something should happen, we're going to form up here. We have a great deal of time left over. So we're just going to make sure we're interrupting and doing this group. As always, if you're looking to support the channel, please make sure you come and subscribe, follow, join on here and on Twitch, where we play games on both. And then we're going to do that. We're going to kill them. Now watch how we're going to end up running. This is a very particular run. We're kiting. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about this other pull here on the side. So we're going to pull this group here because we need to get everything, the percentages. So just continuing to watch an eye on the restore vitalities with the interrupts. Our tank is really doing a great job on defensively, trying to make sure things are going to go through right. And we're just going to end up keeping an eye on their abilities and going through there. Now, watch what we end up doing. We end up cutting around the edge. We pull this group because we need the torch to be able to be clicked on. We almost lost our tank there. We got lucky. He had his self-heal. There's a lot of controversy between tanks and healers, and I'm going to be making videos on them. I'm also going to be making a video on World of Warcraft 2 about the present state of WoW, in my personal opinion. So I ended up pulling that hulking Moar Gore again. So we're at 96%, and I thought we were going to have enough with this hulking Moar Gore, but we don't. So we end up having to kill the boss and coming out, and we just kill one mob. It takes 2 seconds. It's like a joke. So we end up killing this mob, douse the flame. So we're at 99.5. Very frustrating. So this boss is really not too bad. It's just a lot of damage being thrown around and mobility. So what's going to happen here is we're going to keep DPSing, and this Dark Malice forms around them. Don't be there. Then you're going to get these ads of the Chosen that are going to be farming up. He's going to do this thing called a Wicked Hook, which is going to grab somebody. So you want to make sure you have one of the Chosen grabbed and pulled towards them. So you want to be careful of that. And then he also has a thing that's going to end up pulling them towards him. So the biggest thing that, once the orbs go off, you're going to see those circles. So you want to be careful of that. One of the biggest things you kind of want to know is you want to stay together with the group as much as you can. There's another Wicked Hook. The tank can eat it. It doesn't do that much damage. That's perfectly fine. So now we're going to try to stay together, because we're going to get more Chosen. And when the Chosen comes up, we're going to get these beams. So you want to kite the beams while we're ending up doing this and seeing how this goes. And when Dark Malice comes around, and going from there. Now, if a Chosen does hit the center, it doesn't really matter that much because it doesn't do that much damage. It does do a little bit of damage, but not too much. We killed that. We're going to run out. We're going to kill the other one, and then we're going to time this key with about 6 minutes left on the timer. Great job, team. I appreciate us running these keys together. Love it. Everybody dream big, keep gaming, and have a fantastic weekend. Bye, everybody. Boom. Done.